Hey everyone, this is Gawkrelic bringing you another wonderful video. This video is going to be how to configure your firewalls to allow your minimum server to speak to the external world outside of everything instead of being the restricted local versions that we've all been using. One thing that I originally started doing, for those of you that actually care or don't care, is I created my server, I put my restricted server in DMZ, and allowed people to have access that way. However, now I have, after testing and looking into things, I figured out the ports that are required to be able to get external, and I want to share that with all of you. So for those of you, just a quick lesson, this is a little bit more above just a basic user's skill set, but I'm going to try to walk you through the process. This is a Windows 10 environment. I'm going to try to give you the best step-by-step instructions that I can. I can't guarantee that everything's going to work flawlessly, but if you follow these instructions, they should work fairly well. Okay. So as you can tell, so in the background here, you can see me. I have a minimum server up and running at this point in time. The one thing I want to let you know is that on the player-hosted server guide that the devs put out there, they tell you about 3 ports: 7777, 8105, and 27015 ports. Each one of those ports are important, but those aren't the only ports that you need. So what you can do is to find out what ports your server is running on, or what ports a minimum is actually using. Type in CMD if you're on Windows. Oh crap, let's go back. Type in CMD. We got to run it as administrator here. Run it as admin. Click yes. Sorry for all of you that may have headphones and just died by that noise, like myself. But anyways, in here, once it loads up, type in netstat. I'll give you a second on that. It's netstat. You want to do space dash A space dash B space dash N. Alright? And it's going to populate and probably give you a massive fit there. But the one thing we want to do is, I think they should be listed alphabetically, is look for anything that says minimum.exe. Alright? So starting from here, we know port 7777 was what our server was initially established with. So from anything here down to the last minimum option right here is required. Okay? So as you can tell, there's 27016 and 7778 that is required, that is not listed. Now, if you change your ports, like say for example you add an 8888 instead of a 7777, all it does is it takes an 8888, and this one would be 8889. This one, if you added all 8s as well, this would be 88889. They don't go up that high for ports, but just for an example. All right. So those are things to keep in mind when we're trying to create this. They don't give you those specific IP or those ports associated with this. But now that we know that, let's go ahead and create, let's go ahead, if you want to, type in firewall. I'd like to use a configuration. You can allow an app through a firewall. Okay. So one thing you can do if you want to do it this way, and I do both ways personally, but you can do change setting, allow another app. Okay, minimum wasn't listed for me initially, so what I did is I said allow another app, and then here I clicked browse, and then I went through and found my minimum launcher.exe, which you can find that in one of my other videos, and just clicked on that and enabled that to come through as well. And then another one was minimum. I was able to allow that one through, but we'll go through that step-by-step process as well. Okay, but for now, let's go back. I want to do advanced settings. I personally love the step-by-step process of adding different ports. As long as it's not too many. 5 I can handle. 5,000 I'm just gonna not do it. But we want to handle inbound traffic. All right. And we want to, if you haven't started at all, you don't have anything configured, we're going to start a new rule. Okay. So we click new rule, and there's things to keep in mind. Okay, so all these options come up. Yours may be different. Mine's Windows 10, but you may have a Windows 7 machine. Just Google the differences, and you may be able to find a few. But in here, we have TCP and UDP ports. Okay, this is a selection that we want. And over here, they're listed as UDP or TCP. If you keep scrolling up, there'll be TCPs, but all the minimum.exes that is required are UDP port or connections. And once we've clicked on port, we click next. We'll click on UDP, and in here you can type 7777 through 7778 like that. Or you can do an individual one and just do one at a time. It's all up to you. You can do commas, so let's just go ahead. We can do all of them the same time. We can do 7778. There's supposed to be a space in between here. Comma space 8105, comma space 27015, comma space 27016. Alright? Those are all required for these to work appropriately. Okay? So once you do that, you can click next. Allow the connections. So I'm going to say yes, protected with an IPsec, as well as those are not. So we'll go ahead and click yep. Here you don't have to click domain. I don't know what your network setup is, so you may require a domain network to be allowed through. It's all up to you. I normally don't allow domain, but you can do private and public depending on your connections. You can read more about these things a little bit later on. But I highly recommend, at least having private and public, either one of those. You're going to have one of those checked. But anyways, go ahead and click next, and then you type in your name. So you can type in minimum ports, like that, and then you would just enable and go. Just like that. It's simple enough, fairly straightforward, nothing too insane. The only restriction that I know of currently is you can only have one executable in the environment right now. So in other words, if you wanted to run multiple servers on one system, that limitation is, I still have those limitations unless you use a virtual box or a VM solution or something like that. That part I can get up and running is what I plan on doing next weekend, or this upcoming weekend. But that's what you would do for these ports, okay? This is one step of two that we have to address right now. So once you would do this, click finish. I don't want to click finish. I already have all my rules enabled, and then you would be good to go. I don't think I have any outbound rules on minimum here. I may have, nope, okay, I don't have any associated with outbound rules with minimum, so that's fine. Normally we don't have to address those. Now, the next thing you need to do is have access to your firewall router at this point in time, or yeah, your router's firewall, okay? So right now I have 192.168, whatever your designation is, okay? If you don't have admin rights, then you're not going to be able to do this step, and this is what you need to have access to. Is if you don't forward the information appropriately, then you're going to have problems, okay? So let's go ahead, and in this, I have an ASUS router. I have a little bit more functionality than most people probably will. I need to update my firmware. I did that last month. They come out with stuff all the time. But let's go ahead and go to the WAN settings. Yours may be under local area network or wireless. It just depends. Normally these are under local area or wide area network options. What we want to do is port forwarding. Okay, these are going to be things that are sent to us or from us, and the things you want to look at are adding the ports that we did earlier. Okay, so from the 7777, 7778, 8015, 27, and so forth, so on. Alright, so we want port range, we want local port, and I enabled them. So the port range you can change, but I just did them individually. It doesn't really make a large difference unless you have a ton of them and you're just trying to bring them down a little bit more effectively. But I try to make sure I have them set appropriately to UDP. This connection I already established when I was testing a while back, so I just left it the same, but this can be just UDP as well. Once you type in, so all you would do is type in whatever you want, so minimum 7, your port range, which in this case I want from 7777. We'll go to whichever desktop your information is here in, and then you would go to local port, type in 7777, and then you would just type in UDP both or other. This case we're in UDP, and then you would just click add. Once you add, you must apply. Okay, I'm not going to change anything because I'm not applying anything, but the key is in this situation, wherever your port forwarding, not your port triggering, but your port forwarding is, okay, you must have these here set up. So from all the minimums here, you need to have set up, except for this bottom one. You don't have to have that one, but I added that one for good measure. Okay. Once you got those typed in, you add them, you save them, you should be good to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back here as you can tell, I'll expand this for those of you that may want to see a little bit more on here for my inbound. So minimum, here we go. So here are my settings: 777, 778, 8105, 27015, 27016, and the 27036 for good measure. This is a Steam port. It's not necessarily, I don't think, but I just added it, like I said, for good measure this time around. And I've kind of allowed for any profiles and things of that manner. You can kind of take a look and mirror this if you want, but like I said, these are going to be your main priorities that you're looking for. Now let's go ahead and just kind of show you that it is up and running. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. So you can, that's my test there, haha. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out here. Alright, so I'm going to start a new server. Well, I'm not going to use it that way. So we're going to go ahead and start a new server as if I'd never had one going here. Go to minimum binaries and that launcher. And we're going to type in my super secret password here. Alright. And we're going to go ahead and click launch server. You can tell my ports right here. It's loading up. Once we get down to the initiation, there we go, Steam server UID. That's what we were looking for. It doesn't always go down all the time until somebody joins in or something. So I'm going to go ahead and start minimum up here so we can see that the server is online. I'm hoping it is, because if not, then I'm going to be made to look like a liar. Alright, so this is going to say, it should say Mount Othris test. Now, if you don't see it, so if you're looking at a LAN server, you may not see it in the search list, okay, and that's fine. But to truly see if something actually worked or not, to go in here, and let's just go to server browser. And of course, it's going to freak out on me right now, isn't it? Of course. Yeah, great job. Great job, team. Great job. Of course, minimum stops working. Blasted modifications. Let's try it again. I may have to do a repair, but that's okay. Sorry, you may hear my cat freaking out over here on this side. I don't know what the hell he's doing right now. Alright, minimum, let's go. Alright, let's try one more time. Let's play, and let's look at server browser. And I'm made to look like a liar. Sweet. Let's close this. Sure, like you freaking me out, man. Quit. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete this shit here. Let's go ahead and start task manager, make sure all my minimum stuff is shut down. Yep. Minimum launcher, 276, there we go. And let's go ahead and let's just bring this back to Mount Othris. And let's go to clear map. We're just going to put courtyard up. We'll launch server. Alright, here we go. There we go. Don't know if that made any difference whatsoever, but we'll go ahead and check. So it's not going to start populating anything over here until somebody actually initiates the server start, and the server won't officially start the game until somebody joins it directly. Play now, server browser. There it is, Mount Othris. I guess if my name was too long or something like that, but now I'm not made looking like a liar. Sweet, awesome. But anyways, the other thing is that you can't join your local server or your hosted server out on the internet. You're looping back to yourself. It doesn't work like that. What you have to do is you have to go in and type in your IP address as a LAN match. Okay, so my IP address for my computer is this. I click connect, and it'll connect to the server. ladies and gentlemen, is how you recover from being almost made to look like a fool. And I hope this helped out everybody. Please let me know. I'll try to remake a better firewall video, but for now I think this will help out a lot of people. And I will work on an admin video here shortly. Thanks everybody. Have a great one.